The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hi, welcome to the Ring and All in Sports. My name is Leo Connors and I'm your host. And tonight I got two special guests. I got Big Woody, my guest co-host, and New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer Luis Demon Ortiz. Guys,
how you doing?
Thank you very much. Woody.
Leo,
Thank
always
you.
a pleasure.
It's Woody's third appearance here, matter of fact. So, Pat Dillon, sorry you can get a little jealous, but we'll try to get you in here.
Giving the
again.
people what they want, Pat.
Great. All right, so like I was talking to you off here and stuff, how we go about this. Where did you grow up?
I actually grew up in Fitchburg, Mass.
Okay.
I was born out in Fitchburg, Mass.
Okay. Growing up, did you play sports as a kid?
No.
No sports at
No,
all?
I wasn't. Well, just with the neighborhood kids, but never any type of organized sports at all.
Okay. Cool. So from there, when did you first see professional wrestling?
I've been watching professional wrestling for as far as I can remember. I can't remember not watching professional wrestling.
Okay.
So
So that's a very long time.
yeah.
Ages.
What are you trying to say?
No, but, all right. So, how old were you when you decided you wanted to become a pro wrestler?
I was about 15 years old. I was watching TBS, and they were having the Japan Super Show. They were playing the highlights, and I saw Jushin Thunder Liger for the first time. And before that, everybody else was so much bigger and stuff. But when I saw Liger wasn't very big.
Right.
And I figured, well, if he can do it, maybe I could try and get into professional wrestling.
Nice. Now, when growing up, was your friends like wrestling too?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
your
yeah.
friends
All
did,
the
too?
neighborhood kids. Yeah, absolutely. We
Right.
beat the hell out of each other on the porches after watching like the Von Erichs. We'd go out there and like my cousin would put the iron claw on me, but would really put the iron claw on me and try to submit me or put me in a Boston Crab and sit on my back and like we'd really beat the hell out of each other. But yeah, we've been playing wrestling for as long as long time.
Nice. I never asked this question, and I think I probably should have a long time ago with other guests too. Did you ever go to an independent show, like before you became a pro wrestler?
No. I went to the WWF at the Wallace Civic Center, Worcester Auditorium, the Boston Garden many times with my dad. When I lived in Puerto Rico, I saw WWC, Carlos Colon,
Right.
and AWF, which was run by Savio Vega. I would see that there, but I'd never been to like an independent show here in the States.
That's an interesting story. I know from, as
Yeah.
most people know, we've been friends for a long
Right.
time. I love the story, and you might want to tell a little bit of it about you kind of not really sneaking into the stadium, but watching it as a kid while you were in Puerto Rico. I think that's a great story.
Well, and in Puerto Rico, every town has their like municipal like basketball court,
Right.
and they have a gym there and stuff. So I was lifting weights and trying to get bigger, and wrestling came to town. So we'd be waiting outside and to see everybody come in,
Right.
car pull up, and you see Carlos Colon and a bunch of the baby faces get out and go into the arena, and then next car would come up and it'd be Dick Murdoch and all the heels come out and stuff. So over in Puerto Rico, they have the building, but up in the top, they have like an open area, like with bars and stuff, so they let the air in the place.
Right.
So we climb up the side of the building and hold on to the bars and watch the show from outside of the building. Yeah. But it was pretty wild to see those guys come out and go to the thing like, wow.
So Carlos Colon, if you're watching, he owes you like $10.
And the guys over there that wrestled over there too, like you said, having the American guys over there, but like Hercules Ayala.
Yeah, Hercules Ayala, yeah.
Jose Gonzalez.
That Chicky Star,
Chicky Star, he was one of the biggest heels.
he's the Roddy Piper of Puerto Rico.
And
without
what
a
a
doubt.
hero they made out of Jack Veneno, who really was he was like 5'3" and
Yeah, but Jack Veneno was more in the Dominican Republic.
no kidding.
Yeah, he was more in the
there you
Dominican
go.
Republic.
And what about Victor Jovica? Was he
Victor
over there
Jovica, I
too?
didn't see much of him, but Carlos Colon,
Right.
Invader. They had like Jason the Terrible.
Yep.
Jason
I
the Terrible.
remember the massive
Steve
stuff.
Strong was another guy. You name it. They all went through there. Dick Murdoch.
Dutch Mantel.
Dutch Mantel. Scott Hall. Savio Vega was called TNT. He had this
Yes.
like almost like the Quang gimmick that he
Yeah.
had in the WWE. But yeah, they had a lot of good characters, a lot of good storylines. Yep.
That's nice. Now you started training at Killer Kowalski's.
Yep.
And what year was that?
1996.
Okay.
September '96.
Tell us about how the training was and all that.
Well, it was the best training in the New England area. You know, if you came from that school, you knew what you were doing. You know, and I think every promoter knew that. The students that came out of there were the best. You know, it was intimidating. You know, because Walter, even when he was older, he was a big man, and he had these hands that they didn't even look human. His hands, they looked like. You ever see the movie Underworld with
Yes.
the werewolves? That's what his hand looked like, a werewolf hand.
It was huge.
Yeah, he was a big man, but he taught me a whole lot. Told me a whole lot. Yep.
Now, did you ever work any of his shows that he had?
I did at the beginning. I only did like a handful of shows because then he'd taper it off.
He would pack the place, man.
Yeah, he would.
He ran shows.
Yep, my first show was at Southbridge High School, and I remember being in the locker room, and I'd never been amongst any stars, and
Right.
King Kong Bundy and Tito Santana are in the locker room, and I'm like lacing up my boots, and inside I'm freaking out because I'm like, Jesus, but I gotta try and keep a cool head while I'm lacing up my boots. But that was a great experience. The place was packed. Ron Zombie that was his first match.
Yeah.
Damon Darkangelo's first match. You had Matt Bloom. A-Train was his first match. Chyna was there. She was managing Bert Centeno. You had, Scotty Too Hotty was there before Scott Taylor. And it was a good group of guys. You know,
Who did you wrestle that?
my first match was against Steve Bradley.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Great worker, but again, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was just listening and following direction.
Right. That's awesome. Now from there, like you wrestled for Killer at first. What was the first company that you went to work for? You know what I mean? Outside of Killers, was it Chaotic?
No, wasn't Chaotic yet. We did a few shows for Freddie Sparta, and I worked a lot for Silvano Souza up in the Manchester area, and then after that, I ended up going to Tony Rumble, and right as it was changing from the CWA to NWA New England, right around that time.
And as you can attest, when you got booked by Tony Rumble, that was like you made it, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you know what I mean? Seriously,
Without a
like,
doubt.
and no doubt about it. When,
Oh yeah. I mean, I grew up watching. If it was wrestling, I watched it.
Right.
It didn't matter where it was from.
Yep.
I watched it, and over in Puerto Rico, it was really nice because you could catch all the Mexican stations.
Oh, wow.
So I watched Mexican wrestling before. Now you can see it here, but back then you couldn't. So I had Mexican wrestling. I had wrestling from Florida. I had obviously the NWA, WWF. I had IWCCW, and that's where I remember Tony from, and watching him manage like Taz and against Surfer Ray Ozzy and all that stuff. So and I bought all the magazines too. I was way into it. So
I still have the
Yeah.
She Wants to Kill Me. Thank God there's only like one magazine out there nowadays. You know?
Yeah.
I used to spend like $50 a month.
Oh yeah, I used to buy them all the time too.
Did you ever write him a letter or anything?
I did. Yes, because they had this promotion where if you wanted to be a professional wrestler, to write to IWCCW.
Right.
So I wrote to IWCCW, and they sent me this. They sent me this flyer where you could buy a videotape on how to become a professional wrestler. And I was like, shit. But years later, when I got to work for him, it was like craziness.
But working now with Tony, he put you together with Jason Rumble
Yeah.
and Slick. How long into your career was that?
Jeez.
Because I know they were pretty much brand new. Almost,
Yeah, maybe
right?
maybe a couple years.
Couple years. And they put you together like you definitely to help the younger guys, I would imagine. They being the workhorse.
Well, no, we had pretty much similar skill levels at the time. I mean, I didn't start too much. I mean, I was around a year before Wagner joined and Jason Rumble would join.
And I'm going to tell you now, that's right around Tony got the TV show on WNDS.
Right.
That's kind of when I entered the picture. He had a thing where he was setting me up at ringside and talking about me as his fan, and I was going to be a manager.
Right.
But I can just, and the point of the story isn't about that. It's like he saw like gold in them.
Right.
Like when they had the TV show, they were on every show.
Right.
I mean, and sometimes twice.
Right.
I mean, that's how he looked at those guys. He saw that he had 3 diamonds in the rough, and not even in the rough. They were damn near ready at
I
that
don't know.
point.
I was pretty rough.
Well, you see it at that because now your last year in wrestling, you were polished, and for many years you were
I'm
polished.
still learning.
But yeah,
Yeah.
well, you know, that's just what makes you you. But you guys were damn good at that point.
I
You know,
remember the matches you had against the Dark Angels. Arcangels.
Archangels, yeah.
Oh man, well they Damon and
Yep.
Steve King. Those
Yep.
matches were incredible.
Learned a lot from Steve King, as
Yeah.
a matter of fact, because he was there at Kowalski's when I first started. So.
Steve King was a fantastic worker.
He was.
He just had this calming presence about him,
Yep.
didn't he? He really did. He was just so good.
We all learned a
He-
lot. You know, it's not like, you know, back when we were wrestling, you had to earn your stripes. You know, it's not like now. You know, where a kid joins a wrestling school and a few months later he's in a match, and not only is he in a match, he's the champ or he's in a major storyline. It wasn't like that. We had to
Oh, man.
we had to learn and earn the respect of the guys that were on that show before we could get a push or you know, things of that nature. You know.
It's true though, like you said, a lot of guys just come right into the sport now and have a match in 4 months.
It's too quick, you know. But that's just my opinion.
Right,
But
and
it's
some
too,
guys though have earned it. Like you watch a couple
Briggs.
guys that
Briggs is a perfect
you know,
example. That
unbelievable,
kid-
2 years
that
into the
kid
business,
is
and he can already
so
work, like,
good.
really
Yeah.
good.
That
you know?
kid, and not only is he good, he understands
Yes.
the business and he understands the respect involved in the business. That kid, I don't know him from Adam, but every time I see him, he goes out of his way, you know, to show me respect because I've been around for a long time, and I can't say enough things about that kid.
But when
know?
you encounter someone like that, you want to help them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I was still in the business, I would do everything I could for that kid.
Right. Well, Brian's teaching the kids the right way. A lot of the schools are. I'd like to get into that real quick before we go more into your career. Like, don't you guys have your
Oh,
head
he
trainer
does.
at a school?
Yeah,
He
we're
does, yep.
teaching at Salisbury at War Wrestling Academy
Okay.
Revival, and you know, we're starting out. We got a few students and trying to teach them not only the philosophies of the things that I was taught, but my style as well. You know?
Well, you know what? And look, he's he's a modest guy. He just is.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to call a spade a spade.
Please do. Please.
They tripled the amount of students after he joined. Maybe more. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe more.
That's awesome.
That's the truth. When he
that's
took
an
over as head
attribute to
trainer,
yourself,
they
definitely.
tripled the amount of students they had. That is the truth.
Right. Oh, I believe that for sure. Now, where exactly is that? So, if anybody wants, anyone down by the beach area wants to
Well,
join,
you could just go to War on Facebook, and it's got all the information there, and the prices and all.
You hear that, guys? Go to War on Facebook, or you can even hit me up.
Wrestling
What do you
Academy
got?
Revival.
Yep.
Yes, and we'll send you in the right way.
Yes.
Put you on the right path. Woody, did you have any questions you want to bring up?
Yeah, actually, you know what? After you had mentioned NWA New England,
Yes.
right? And then we were both involved in a venture called Wrestling Star Wars.
Yes.
You were there for a brief time before you went to Chaotic.
Yeah.
But there's always been, in wrestling, people have always, I don't hope my mic is still on, but anyways, in wrestling, people have this history of taking credit for certain things and whether they've done it or not. But like, you had a tour of Japan. You got basically from Wrestling Star, from
Yeah,
your work at
absolutely,
Wrestling Star Wars.
absolutely.
George Takano.
So let's put the Wally Yamaguchi and Shun Yamaguchi. Shun was involved in Wrestling Star Wars. He was a referee and he was kind of helping out with the booking.
He's a photographer also.
And a photographer, and now he's a commentator for the Japanese commentary for WWE, by the way. And Wally Yamaguchi was the guy from Japan that was involved in it. But who booked you for your shows?
That was Knuckles Nelson.
Right.
Now, I would have never got that opportunity if it wasn't for Knuckles Nelson.
Now, that was you and, was it just you and Dylan Cage, or there's more guys involved? Dylan ended up going over there too, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Dylan went on there. There was a guy by the name of Brian Day. There was a local guy that went as well. I think, and there
Knuckles
was
Nelson
Knuckles
went.
Nelson went. That was the local. I think that was just the local guys here. And then you had like Barry Darso was on there and Wild Bill
Wild
Irwin.
Bill Irwin.
And there was a few guys from the Midwest. that went.
Horace the lunatic, out of
Horace the
his mind.
lunatic.
Was absolutely a
Yeah,
lunatic.
Vic Grimes also was
Really?
on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Now, you were partners with Dylan over there. And you
No, we were adversaries
Oh,
in
really?
Japan. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you guys teamed up. I
Dylan-
know you teamed up over here later.
No.
Dylan was
the Pepsi boy.
Yeah. And you were?
I was Virgin Coke. I didn't care. I was there. Like, oh, is that what you want me to wear? All right, sure.
I gotta say this real quick, all right? Dylan Cage, right? When he wrestled for MWF there,
Yes.
my grandson was
Yeah.
This has got something to do with you too, because of his eyes.
Yeah.
Well, I had him. I had to take him out of there. So before I figured it was safe now, Dylan was gone. So I brought Isaiah all the way down. He's like 4 years old. And then you come out with the mask. And I ran with that kid so fast because he was scared of him. I knew how scared he was going to be with you with that mask on your face. But that's just a little funny story I had to tell you about my grandson. So now when you were in Japan, how long were you there for?
We were there for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. We wrestled every day we had 1 day off.
Now bus trips.
Oh yeah.
That,
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's
Long ones?
We'd get to a town, we'd find out where to do our laundry, where we're gonna get our food,
Yeah.
and if we were gonna hang out somewhere, then we'd find that out, and then we'd go to the venue, wrestle, get back, and hang out and do whatever, and then the next morning do it all over again.
Do you remember where everybody met up the
In the-
night
in the
before?
whole-
No, the night before you actually. Remember you went to the airport at what, like 6 o'clock in the morning?
Yes.
You remember where you met up at like 4 o'clock in the morning with everybody? That was at my house.
That was?
Yeah, in
I
Seabrook,
didn't
New Hampshire.
I didn't know.
I had to
sorry.
work. I had a regular job too. I had to stay up until 4 o'clock in the morning waiting for these guys
Right.
to show up at my house.
What an experience, though. It was great.
I can imagine. Now, did you go to any other countries?
No, I went to Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Again, another indie promotion in Puerto Rico.
Now, did you go over there by yourself?
That time, I went by myself, but also One Night Stand. Remember them
yeah,
from
Brian
Chaotic
Delicious
Wrestling? Yeah,
and
and
Energy.
Energy, they were on the tour.
They were pretty.
Oh yeah, they were great. And Tony Atlas was on the tour.
Nice.
Jimmy Snuka Jr. was on the tour. The Power Company.
Yeah. Mike and Dave, was it Mike and Dave? No, Dave and Dean.
Dean and Dave, yeah, I think, yeah.
I think-
Same deal every show. Slap each other in the face and hug and, oh yeah. Same thing every show.
Yeah.
They were great. I
They were
loved them.
nice guys. I met them
Really
a
good
couple
guys.
times.
Yeah,
Really nice guys.
really good guys.
Cool. All right, so now we're into you working for Tony, and then from there you started working for Chaotic.
No,
Wrestling
from there we
Star
went to
Wars,
Wrestling
right?
Star Wars
Wrestling Star Wars,
because
yeah,
Tony
yeah.
passed away.
Right.
And so NWA was kind of like up in the air. NWA New England was up in the air. And Knuckles started running the shows up in Salisbury Beach under the NWA New England banner.
At first, it was the
At first.
NWA, and then we split off.
And then they split off and then they did Wrestling Star Wars. So I was there for a little while and we went to Japan and we came back and I believe it was Jay Gillette who called me and told me about a show for this new company called Chaotic Wrestling. And it was going to be at the Palladium in Worcester. And that's the first time I worked for Chaotic
Can I
Wrestling.
tell a
That was
quick
around
story?
2001, right, when they started, right? Wasn't it around
2000.
2000?
It was right 2000. Can I tell a quick story?
Yeah, please. That's
When
what
I-
we're here for.
When I got to Wrestling Star, when I left NWA New England, I had just gotten started at NWA New England when there was a split off. And I really never felt I had a choice. I had to go to Wrestling Star Wars, and he was able to do both. Just how it was, right?
Yeah.
And I wasn't, and a lot of people thought that, I was just there because I was Knuckles' friend or whatever. And it was not always a friendly locker room for me. You know what I mean? And I don't even think Lewis really knew it. It was just, he was busy doing his own thing. But I was doing a body slam challenge. And I went out and I did something one day, and I don't even remember what it was. But I got to the back, and he was waiting for me. And I didn't know him other than just being on a half a dozen, 10 shows with him. Yeah. And he comes up to me and he says, look, I got to tell you something. He says, you probably don't really look like a wrestler, but man, can you talk? You just keep doing what you're doing.
Right.
And, him being around at that point, maybe 3 years, probably the best worker in the locker room, it meant the world to me because I was ready to quit. And that's no lie. Wow. And that's the type of influence he had. And to this day, he doesn't know it.
Does now?
I've told him this 1,000 times. He still doesn't know it. Yeah, no, but seriously, that's the type of guy he was. He was a quiet leader, always was. So, anyways, but
Oh, that's great. That's a great story.
let's move on to Chaotic if that's what you want to go to.
Yeah, we can go to Chaotic. Yeah.
That's what you got.
Well, I mean, you've held a lot of gold in Chaotic.
Yeah.
That's, what I mean. So do you remember your first match for Chaotic?
My first match was against Kyle Storm at the Palladium in Worcester. Yeah.
So you wrestled Kyle. Now you had a tag team in Chaotic also, right? With Gino.
Oh, that was later. That's later on, right when I left.
Okay.
When I left
So,
for the last
so
time.
At the beginning, what was the first title you held in Chaotic?
That was the television title.
Okay.
Yep.
Who'd you wrestle for that?
I wrestled It was Edward G. Ecstasy, and I believe Master Sandy somehow was involved in that one too. Yeah, yeah, she was.
Yeah, she had left Dave. She had left that thing she was doing with Dave Vicious, right?
Yeah,
At that point,
I believe that Dave Vicious had passed away.
Had he passed
maybe.
away
I think
already
he
at that
might
point?
have passed away at that time. You know, but it was
That was
it
pretty
was the
sad.
Wonderland dog track.
I heard they just ripped that down.
I didn't know.
ECW had their shows too, right?
Yeah.
I guess they just ripped it down this past week. Somebody posted on
That's
Facebook
too bad.
that it's gone. A lot of memories in that building for a
Yeah.
lot of wrestling.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
All right, so you're at Chaotic now. Do you have any managers? Does anybody manage you at all at Chaotic?
I was part of this faction, if you will, called The Office.
Okay.
And Randy Miller was one of the co-owners of Chaotic Wrestling, and he was my manager, and along with Mike Hollow, and was involved as well in that.
Who else was in the crew?
What's so funny?
No, I'm not laughing at anybody that was involved because like they were doing great things. I'm laughing about like you have to understand like how different things were then, right? Back then, if you were somebody with his talent or somebody good, and they went up at you and said, "Oh, by the way, we got a manager for you," it was almost like slapping you in the mouth, right? True or not?
Well, sort of.
Yeah. Now it's like, oh, all right, sure, okay, but you know.
Who else was in the group?
Chris Nowinski was in the group.
Oh, wow.
Yep. That was right before he went to the WWE.
Now, any big feuds that you had in Chaotic that you like to talk about?
No,
I'm sure you had.
the biggest one was with R.J. Brewer, John Walters. That was the
You guys
biggest
had a
feud.
lot- and then you guys ended up teaming up later on, too.
Yeah, that's a handful of matches, but we were more enemies than anything there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, I definitely saw a lot of those matches.
Oh yeah,
too.
we
I believe
we
you guys
beat the hell out of each
tore
other.
it up every time he's wrestled, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It's a shame that he left the business a few years ago,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. Him by his own choice.
Yes,
You
so
know,
yeah,
him
yeah,
by his own choice.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Me,
yeah.
not so much.
Well, I definitely want to get into that because I don't even know the story of
Oh,
how
okay.
that's so. But all right, so in Chaotic, you were a tag team champion once also. Right?
Yeah, yes.
Little Guido.
Yes. We beat the one night stand for that tag team
And that was
titles.
around what, 2003.
No. That's still early. That's
Still early,
that's
okay.
like 2001, I think. Still.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What a tag team that was.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And again, another guy that I learned tons from.
Oh, yeah,
Tons.
imagine.
Combined height of like 8 feet. Total combined
That
height.
awful? I gotta hear this all the time.
I'm sure you do.
Ridiculous.
He's gonna give it to you.
Oh yeah. I'm used to it now.
But at least he compliments you. That's not that bad.
Yeah.
That's called the compliment sandwich, kids.
Now, do you have any questions you want to ask about this time in Chaotic?
Well, look,
Because it was a long time.
it was kind of when you and a few of the other people left for Chaotic, right? That was it, right? You were exclusively Chaotic.
Yes, absolutely. Yes,
And
exclusive contracts. Yeah.
Yeah, like there was some, like being as somebody that was on the outside that was never going to get an opportunity from Chaotic, right? There was some grumblings for sure.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't always easy for those guys,
you know
but
what?
they
You know-
had to take those deals.
But yeah, it was stupid not to, and they made you feel special.
Right.
They made you feel part of a family, like you were part of something. You really were working your ass off out there every night.
And they're still going strong now.
Yeah.
And when
You
did
know?
that whole thing end with the contracts? How long were you there before the?
Ooh, I'm not sure. Sometimes time eludes my mind.
Okay, couple, 3 years, 4
no,
years.
No. I think maybe 2 years. Maybe.
2 years.
I could be wrong.
years.
Anybody out there, I could be wrong, but
Right.
Yeah,
that's
that's what it felt like to you.
so it felt
anyway.
like to me anyway.
And how long were you there before they named the big event of the year after you, which is Cold Fury?
Cold
If
Fury.
anybody doesn't know that, that's the truth. That's a
Matt Fury,
that's a shoot, as some people like to say, that they named Cold Fury after him. Like, and again, it's something else he'll never tell you, but it's the truth.
Right.
And the first Cold Fury was in 2001, so I wasn't there very long.
They're long.
I
No,
wasn't
I
there
think I
long.
wrote something down about that in here too.
That was the one
Yeah,
that
that
hurt.
was the one. Was the first one you took on Ronnie Delicious?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
That was the one that hurt, at least for me. Like, being in wrestling Star Wars, and I can't say I had any real say at what went on in the office, but I was involved in the office there. And I was there for meetings and different things that went on. A lot of them happened in my house. Like, that was the one that hurt, was when he left. Seriously, that was the one we were like, wow, now there's, he didn't realize at the time, he was a young guy, he didn't realize, like, to him, he was putting guys over a lot. And he didn't realize how important that was.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Of course,
Like,
of course.
like, because he was that damn good.
Right.
But you know what? Always as a performer, you know, you wanna be the guy.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
you want to be the guy.
You want to be the guy. You want to be helping guys too.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Right.
But if you don't come into this business to try to be the best or to be the number one or wherever you are to be number one, then what are you doing here?
Right. What are you doing? In
Yeah.
the business?
What are you doing here?
Absolutely.
That's the way I feel anyway.
Right. So, how many Cold Furies were you a part of? Definitely.
Well,
10?
obviously 1, 2. I think the last one was 10. No. Yeah. I think the last one was 10.
Right?
I came back for
2016. No, I know.
10 was the last one for me, I believe. It was like a battle.
You
royal
had
that
been
they
away at that point, right?
I left chaotic wrestling for a little while and I came back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, after Chaotic, where'd you go?
After chaotic, I did some shows for Jason Rumble and NWA New England. No, not NWA New England. It was Victory Championship Wrestling. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I did some there, and then I got the call from the big man here.
The
Yes,
AEW.
all
was
by
the-
chance.
The first guy that we ever booked, and it was all, like he said, by chance. I
chance.
had called Gino Martino.
Right.
First guy I called, our very first show. And Gino had helped me quite a bit as well. And Gino, had just been on that TV show, smashing nails and stuff in with his head. And I called Gino, and Gino's like, look, I can't do it. I can't be there. He said, but I know you're looking for somebody local. He said, do you know Luis Ortiz? I said, yeah, I know Luis. I haven't seen him forever, but I know him. And he's like, well, let me give you his number. So he gave me his phone number, and I called him in the middle of the day while he was at his job, which, I probably should have waited. And I'll never forget it. And he says, hello. And I said, Luis. And he said, yeah. I said, this is Woody. He goes, Big Woody? And I hadn't talked to him in 10 years.
Yeah,
I said, yeah. Body Slam Challenge, Big Woody? Yeah. Like, how many Big Woodies do you know? And, and we had talked for, 3 or 4 minutes. He said, I'm at work. He said to him, look, I got a show coming up. I want to start something. It's going to be a couple, 3 shows. I don't know how long it's going to last, but we'll see. Right. But we'd love to have you come. And he said, well, let me see if I can make it. And he called me back a half hour later, said I can make it. He said, but, I don't work for that $25 a shot anymore. I said, yeah, well, I didn't think you did. And he said, I'll never forget it. And he says, well, I said, well, what do you want? He said, what are you thinking? I said, $50. And he says, well, no, I need 75. I said, you got it. He has no idea I'd have given him 100. And I said, you got the 75, no problem. And the first show he came in and he worked Taka, right?
Taka Suzuki.
And he was mad at me because I made him put Taka
I
over.
wasn't mad at him per se, but I didn't know if it was going to be the same wrestling Star Wars.
But it was,
It's the same
at
thing
that
was
point,
happening
and
there.
in all fairness, Taka was making some waves in the indie scene, and people wanted to see him. So, it was just one of those things. But anyways, we, wanted to book him for the next show. He couldn't make it, and then he ended up getting hurt.
Yeah, I tore my bicep tendon.
How long were you out for?
I was out for maybe 6 months, maybe.
Six
or
or 8 months
Six or 8 months
he
before
messaged me and told me he was ready to come back, and we were in our second season, and man, he just, it was like a slow build. I never seen anything like it. Like at first they, because he has a way of building a match. By the end of it, you realize this is amazing.
Right.
But the first 5 minutes, you're thinking, I don't know. You know what I mean? But the end, you're like, what the hell is? Yeah. So he had a slow build, and at the time, Todd Sopel was our champion, did an amazing job.
Yes,
right?
yes, he did.
And somebody else
he
was
did.
supposed to take the title, and he wasn't able to. Whatever happened in his personal life,
Right.
And at this point, Lewis and Todd had worked 3 times straight, packed the houses
Right.
3 times in a row.
Yeah.
So, at that point, something had to change, and it just made perfect sense. And we had no idea the ride we were about to go on.
So is that from where you decided to put the 3 kids together?
No,
That was still a
Christ,
while
that was.
away. That was still a
Oh
while
yeah,
away.
no, Lewis was our champion.
So your
for,
first big feud was with Todd for APW.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And they tore the house down.
Yeah.
Todd's a good worker. There's no doubt about that.
3 months in a row they tore the house
I couldn't
down.
have a bad match with him if I tried.
A lot of people
It's just
say
as simple as that.
I've watched him wrestle plenty of times. He's a good worker.
He's a damn good
They
worker.
literally tore the house down 3 times in a row, and then Todd had gone over on him in a no disqualification match, right?
Yep.
And like I said, something else was supposed to happen a few months later, and it didn't happen. And the decision had to be made on what was going to happen, and we worked something out. They wrestled a tag team match, like in October, and the following November they had a 30-minute match.
Yeah, 30 minutes. Yeah.
And it was like they tore the house down again. There were 4 times they main evented in 5 times actually, part of the tag match.
Yes.
They main evented 5 times in probably a 9-match schedule, and they filled the place every time.
Right.
That's how hot this thing was. I mean, no.
Now, you said you put him in a tag team match, too. Now, who else was involved in the tag team match?
Todd had a partner of Gunner Rowe,
Yep.
and Lewis teamed with Bob Evans.
Brutal Bob. Mm-hmm. I even know Bob.
No, brutal's the right word.
Bob was around during the NWA New England time,
Right.
so I've been around them for a little while.
I
Yeah.
got to ask one question just to get off topic real quick. Did you ever work for Jeff Costa up here in Nashville?
No, I never had the chance. no.
Legend.
Yeah.
Never had the chance. Heard of him, but never had the
County,
chance.
man, the last of the great county promotions.
Oh,
Right.
man.
But that's for another time.
The greatest line he ever said is, "I got all the names, just I don't really have the guys." When somebody wanted some big names.
Oh, my Kevin Nashua.
Yeah, Kevin Nashua.
Scott Hall. Yes.
Yeah. He said, "Yeah, I got all the names."
Oh, yeah. We were talking about that.
The guy
Oh my God.
was a legend.
Weeks ago. It was hilarious.
But yeah.
Toilet bowl matches, 3D matches. How the heck do you have it? Oh, yeah, and he'd get in your face and go, I'm right in your living room. I'm right in your living room. Like, he just was crazy. All right, so let's get back on talking about APW.
Okay.
So now you had your feud with Todd. Who'd you feud with after that?
Who was the next feud after that?
I don't know that you really
I
had.
think it was
every month I was.
Bring somebody
We
in.
were bringing different guys in, main event guys from other promotions every month. And I'm going to tell you, and this is another thing too. This is a shoot, as they like to say. I had a tough time finding opponents.
Really?
It wasn't because they didn't want to work with them. It was because some guys just flat out. And this is no lie.
Here we go.
Some guys said, "I'm not ready."
Right, that's...
I had one guy, and I'm not going to embarrass him by giving his name because he's a good friend of mine. He's a really good guy. He had been out of the business for 2 or 3 months, was having some personal problems. I called him. I said, "Look, I know you want to start wrestling again. I want to put you in the ring with Ortiz." And he started crying. I'm not lying. And I said, "What are you crying for?" And he said, "When I started wrestling, he was on my top 3 list of guys." I said, "Okay, well, here he is." He said, "I'm not ready." And he was crying. That's no bull. So instead, we gave him Bo Douglas, and he broke Douglas's face.
Sorry, Bo.
He broke his nose.
His name. Did the guy ever get to wrestle him, though?
No. And a great guy. And he knows who I'm talking. Like, I love him. I think the world of him. He knows who, if he's watching this, he knows who I'm talking about. Great guy.
Well, who else did you end up getting for him besides Bo?
Delfonso, him and Tony Delfonso had a fantastic match.
Jose Perez.
That was the first title defense you had.
No, I think
second.
it was the second because
Bo was the first.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Bo. It was Danny. Danny was the first.
Danny was all right.
Then came
Yeah, but
Bo.
the first regular show, because Danny was a birthday party type of thing.
No, that was a regular show.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was.
All right, yeah, the second time with Danny was a birthday party. You're right.
Yes.
But then there was Bo Douglas, and then again, it was a slow build with Lewis, and I needed somebody that could, like that.
Yeah.
And I knew Jose, a tough guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And I consider it my greatest piece of booking ever.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I worked them against each other. These guys have been lifelong friends forever. And I was calling them both, telling them stuff that they were saying about each other. But they went out there, and they're still friends. They're good,
Yeah.
But they went out there just like you would expect them to. They slugged it out for 15 or 20 minutes, and they had a fantastic match.
It was a great match.
It was, they went toe-to-toe for 15 or 20 minutes.
That's the way I like it. I like physicality. I like contact. It's not so in class. I like.
And from when you started too, there was more not like kayfabe really wasn't as broke as much as it is now.
No.
So you did want to. You were brought up that way too.
But it was a lot of tough guys too.
Right.
I mean, Tim McNeely was a guy who helped me a lot starting out, and he was no joke. He would tag you, and so
man.
working with him made after a while, at first it was like, oh, wow.
Right.
And then after a while, you start getting used to it and I started kind of liking it after a while.
Oh no, you started expecting it.
Well, yeah, but after a while, like that, towards the end of my career, that's what I like. I like content. Yeah.
Did you have any interaction with Gorgeous Chris Duffy when you first started, or was he already?
Very little.
That was towards the end of his run,
Yeah,
right?
very little. He would still do shows for Freddie Sparta.
Right.
So I'd
I met
see him
him
there.
at a WWE show. He must have been one of the guys. And Perry Saturn was there that night. And I used to watch him wrestle at independent shows. It was definitely entertained by Chris Duffy. All right. So, Woody, got anything else you want to add? APW.
But you know what? I want to ask you, if you were to give me 4 or 5 of your best matches, opponents, because the list 5 matches is kind of hard over.
APW?
No, throughout your entire career, who would you say your 4 or 5 best opponents you were? I know RJ Brewer.
Number one is RJ
Brewer, right?
And that's not a knock on anybody because I've had the chance to wrestle.
It's not a knock on anybody.
No, I've wrestled lots of really good guys in the New England area, no doubt about it. Wagner Brown, another one. Dylan Cage, Todd Sopel. Yep, I mentioned Todd. Again, I can't have a bad match with the guy.
Right.
Tommaso Ciampa is another one. And Jason Rumble is another one.
Right.
That we don't even have to talk.
Right.
I mean, it's just,
Right in the ring,
boom, we're gone. We're off to the races, yeah.
And you only had a couple matches with him, and obviously you know your own list. But you and Evan Six had a thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? You guys just.
Oh,
I was so mad at the two of them the last time they wrestled. I was so mad at them.
I told everyone he was on the show that I watched him hit somebody. I think it was Matty Almeida. It might not be him, but he hit him so hard that I thought he killed him, like for real. Like I really did, And Evan's like, I probably did hit him real hard.
That's
I probably whacked him.
his style's tailor-made for me.
And that's something that he brought to APW, right? Seriously, and it wasn't just him, but he kind of brought it in there.
Right.
If you were working the main event in APW, you better be ready, to get whacked, because I can't tell you how many times I got pictures from guys the next day saying, "This is what happened to me last night," lumped up from Evan, him. Malonis, physical matches, and people came to expect it. If you were working the main event there was 4, 5, 6, 7 guys that they knew, you know what I mean? If you were working the main event there, you better be ready to go, and if you weren't, the match ended up short.
And again, there's maybe people out there say, well, they're careless. They don't know how to work or whatever.
It wasn't careless.
It's not, it's just, a lot of people come into to watch a show and they already know, quote unquote, it's a show. Right. My job is to make you think it's not.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's what I tried to do every time I went out there.
Yeah. Now you wrestled for Ring of Honor, I think it was in 2003.
I did one match against Jose Perez.
Yeah, that was in Mass?
No, that was in New Jersey.
Oh, in New Jersey.
Yep, Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Because you wrestled a couple of guys that I got to know through there. I just want to bring them the match.
Sure.
Up. You took on Xavier.
Yes.
How was that? Because he's a guy that hits pretty hard too.
Great. It's great, but that's again right down my alley. I like it.
Right.
Yeah, and I learned a lot from him too because he was a little bit more advanced than I was.
Right.
So I got to get in there with him and learn. And that's what I try to learn. If you're better than me, that's great because I want to learn as much as I can. You know.
And you'll always, like you said earlier, you always learn.
You never stop learning.
You never stop.
You never stop learning.
Absolutely. And one more guy, DeVito.
Oh, class act. Really. Oh yeah, he was another one that again learned a lot from him and had tons of fun working with him. I did most of my matches with him in Assault Pro Wrestling, not Assault Pro Wrestling, excuse me, Defiant Pro Wrestling in Connecticut when Mike Milano was running it.
Right.
Yep.
Now, did you work for Steve Stallion at all?
Who?
For Primal?
No, I never got a chance there.
You were with Chaotic
I was Chaotic at the time,
right?
Yeah.
What's up? What you said?
We were exclusive there. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I always have problems. I can't come up with words real quick. All right, so now you're in. You're done with Chaotic, and you go to where?
I went to Atlantic Pro Wrestling.
Atlantic Pro Wrestling, right?
Yep.
And from there.
From there, I stayed at Atlantic Pro Wrestling, and
Well, that's matter of fact, I brought it up earlier. Now I want to ask this: the Three Kings. How did that all come about? Which with you, Brian Malonis, and Tonto, anyway.
I had Christ, I don't know. it had been a year and a half or 2 years where I had talked to him about maybe turning him heel.
Right.
And, you know, a couple times we thought we had a plan to do it, and then cooler heads prevailed because he was so hot as a babyface. You know what I mean? He just was, you know? And then, I don't know, something just seemed to click where it just seemed like the time was right. And I'm looking at it, and I've got Sopel, Malonis, and him all as heels.
Right.
And it just clicked in my head. I was like, well, geez, you know, if he's going to be a heel, and we have the current champion, a guy that was champion for 2 years, and the first champion, why don't we put them together? And, you know, at that point, I was just kind of doing the TV, but look, I'd be lying if I didn't say I didn't want to work with him in some capacity for quite a while. Yeah. But it just, you know, I was never one to just do it for the sake of doing it. But it just seemed to fit. Like everything we did, whether he was a babyface and I was a heel, everybody knew that we were friends. Like it was never hidden. It was part of every show that we were good friends, known each other for years.
Yeah, you put my face out when they burned it.
Right, when he got burned by Brandon Webb, I brought in a towel with water on it, even though I think I was a heel at the time. I don't know, but I still put his face out when he was on fire. You know, which, you know, to this day, I'm not sure I did the right thing or not. But, you know, because honestly, I thought the burn was an improvement. But but either way, whether it was or not, but anyway, that all seemed to just kind of fit.
Constant.
It just seemed to fit all of us together, and you know what? The promos and the work speak for themselves. And they really do. Like I'm not, you know, and I'm not just saying that. Like
we were all different characters, but we just fit.
You know, it was such a good piece of business. It really was.
Who did they work with right off the bat?
Evan, John Poe was and Kyle Storm, but it was mostly John Poe and Evan with the big, and you know, we were the antagonists and they were the, you know,
they were the heroes.
They were the heroes, you know, and Kyle Storm was in on that, and just about everybody really. But I mean, they had a reign of terror that lasted.
Is John Poe still the champ right now?
I believe he is. Yeah, yes. Yeah. Matter of fact, I know he is. I shouldn't say I believe he is, but I know he is. Yeah.
Anything else you want to bring up about ECW? We can go to the game whenever you know.
No, actually, I want to ask him about his last match.
Oh, yes.
I want to ask him about his last match.
Well, I had 2 matches that night, and well, before I go to that, I want to say I was with APW to the end, but I did get a chance to go back to Chaotic Wrestling.
Okay.
For 2 shows, and then I was working for Todd Sopel at Liberty States, and that's where I had my last match, and. I'm working Todd Sopel for the No Limits title, and I'm supposed to go over that night. And the match is going great. Before that, I wrestled Brandon Locke, and I was feeling great. You know, everything was going good. I wasn't blown up. I was feeling really good. And get in the ring with Todd Sopel, and we're just, you know, business as usual, you know, and we're having a really good match. And I'm supposed to throw a spinning heel kick, and I forget to do it, and then it clicks back in my head, and I grab him, and I spinning heel kick. And I throw the spinning heel kick, and when I threw the spinning heel kick, it felt like somebody just whacked me in the back of my leg, and I felt it go numb. And I wasn't sure to the extent of what I'd done to myself, but I knew I did something. You know, and the way I see it is that I have a regular job that I go to. I have my wife and my children. And I'm not proving anything to anybody by stepping on that leg and getting up and causing more damage possibly. You know, live to fight another day. You know, that's the way I see it. You know, and I told the referee I can't continue. Yeah, and then so Todd had to. I mean, it's either that or go get somebody else from the locker room to take over. You know, and
look, and you know what? I'm not. Let's just look. Todd's a heat magnet. And, you know, and he's my friend, you know what I mean? But I'm going to tell you something flat out. Todd is my friend because Todd's a good guy. And you know what? And you know what? But that was what happened. You know, and people can say whatever they want, and people can say, you know, he made himself champion, and blah, blah, freaking blah.
That was not
He's not the first guy that made himself champion. And let me tell you something, that was not his choice.
No.
And I will stand up and people will say whatever they want about him. I don't give a damn. I'm 50 years old. I got nothing to lose or gain by any of it. But let me tell you something. There's a guy that canceled his own shows for me. And I will always say that Todd Sopel is one of the handful of guys, along with him, that thought company first. And anybody that doesn't like it, they can kiss my ass. Period.
I hear you 100%.
So that's my feelings.
You guys know, last show I did, I made a joke. It really was just supposed to be a joke.
Yeah.
It really was. You know, he didn't like it. Things happen. I probably made the mistake of putting something out there that I shouldn't have.
Well, that's-
I look back, I wish I did it differently, and that's a fact.
The
That's why, if you remember when I went live later, though, and I
The
apologized
crux of
for
the
making a
situation
joke.
to me, right,
Yeah.
if we're going to get into it, is look, you know, everybody and their brother knew I was the booker of APW last year, right? But when we were doing a thing where I was taking over APW, it was never brought up. And anybody telling anybody who the booker is, whether it was a joke or not, you know, and I believe you. I have no reason not to believe you that it was a joke. But that has always been to us is taboo.
And you
And
told
that-
me that, and I told you right
you
from
know.
the thing, I respected that.
Right.
You know?
Also,
And I
so,
respect you sticking
but
up
I
for
just
your
wanted to
friends.
say it because that's how I feel about it.
I'm
And-
glad you did, because it clears up the monkey in the room in my eyes.
Right. Cool.
You know what I mean?
We're cool. Now let's get back to the
Yeah,
demon.
all
I'm
right,
sorry.
That's cool. Yeah. So all right. So now that happened, and you just had to call it a career. Now.
Well, I chose to.
Right.
I was out of my regular job for 11 weeks,
Yeah.
making 60% of my pay, and that takes a toll when you have a wife and children, you know, and when you have a job, you know, that I just the doctors tell me that I'm as good as new,
Right.
and that I have the same chance as anybody to redo that again, like as somebody who never had the injury before, but.
Yeah.
With my luck, I'll have one match, and boom, it happens again. And this time, you know, my insurance might not be there to catch me this time. You know, so
And at least you got closure too. Like you got to go to APW and say goodbye to the fans.
Yeah.
The fans got to say goodbye to you.
Yeah.
Which I know it meant a lot to a lot of fans.
yeah. But there's not a day go by I don't miss it. I don't think about it.
Right.
You know, if I was in a more financially stable place in my life, those boots would come right back on. Because I tell my wife all the time, I'd probably be like Terry Funk. I'd be, you know, 60, 70
He's
years
coming
old.
back again.
Yeah, I'd probably be the same way.
It's like 75 years old. All right, let's get into the name game. We only got about less than 10 minutes.
Hey,
You have
here's what.
anything you
No,
wanna say?
actually, there is something I want to do.
Great,
Right.
please.
This show, the rest of the show, is about my friend, the demon, and I want to leave. I want you to do the show because this is about my buddy, my friend, and
We're just gonna play
It's
the
always
name
a
game
pleasure.
now.
Thank you. Oh boy.
Thanks for coming on again. Honestly, I appreciate that very much. All right, so listen, we'll just gonna play the name game.
Okay.
You know, I just got a bunch of guys I know that you worked.
Okay.
I'm gonna just pick different guys out because I know that you're probably closer to certain guys. Big Rick Fuller.
Awesome guy.
You had a lot of matches with him.
Not that many. We only, I think we only just worked one time.
Right.
But he was nothing but nice to me, took good care of me, a pro all the way.
How about Eddie Edwards?
Oh, I had a few. I had Eddie Edwards' first match in MWF.
Okay.
And it's really cool to see how far he's gotten,
yeah.
you know, and
It's
how
crazy,
good
right?
he's gotten, you know.
Now you wrestled for Dan Marati for a few years too.
Yeah, I did.
A lot of those shows.
I did.
Like I said
I
told
did.
you earlier.
Yeah.
That mask. Now, were you using that mask at APW too?
I did.
Did you?
I did, yeah.
Nice.
I did.
How about Dr. Heresy?
Another great guy, you know.
Did you ever work for him?
I worked for him a few times. We had what I call, everybody's looking for their flawless match.
Right.
And I had that one with John Walters for Dr. Heresy at a EWA show in Gardner, Mass. And I have it on VHS. I got to get it on digital, but
Right.
yeah, flawless
How
match.
about Aaron Stevens?
Again, Chaotic Wrestling, trained in the same place that we did. You know, he came a few years after I started. But again, there's a guy who, you want to talk about somebody who's paid their dues to make it to what he did. And
Yeah. They dropped the ball on him anyway.
Yeah,
They
but-
totally dropped the ball on him.
but
he
he's-
was getting over when they didn't give him any.
Yeah, but he kept on going. He went to Puerto Rico, went to Florida, and he really paid his dues to get where he did.
Absolutely. Arch Kincaid.
Arch Kincaid, poor Arch Kincaid, I accidentally tore his ear off in a match in Methuen. But a great guy.
Another guy could talk like unbelievable.
Yes.
And work too. I mean, he wasn't just a talker.
Yes.
You know. These guys, I'm going to bring up a couple of guys that haven't been around for a long time. Mike Stud.
Mike Stud, I had a little feud with him in Chaotic Wrestling, and again, another good worker that complimented me. Was willing to do whatever crazy thing I wanted to do. You know.
Right.
So yeah, I had great matches with him too.
Scarecrow.
Another good guy. Mike Stud's former partner.
Yeah.
You know. I'm probably not going to have anything bad to say about anybody, you know.
It's funny. If you watch it, Derek always wanted people to be shit on. And
No,
to me,
I have no reason.
Unless
You
you
know,
had a reason.
unless I had a reason. I mean, I was very fortunate to be around lots of good people
Yep.
that helped me along the way. You know,
How about, we'll call him from what you knew him at the beginning, Handsome Johnny.
Handsome Johnny, look where he's gotten. I mean, part of the IWGP Tag Team Champions. You know, and that's, to me, that's awesome to see him.
And with you sitting here, and I know you'll agree with all the injuries that kid had. He could have quit at any time, and nobody would have thought less than of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He just stuck it out.
And I never knew about all those injuries, all those
right.
stuff. Because even though I worked at Chaotic, I knew him, but I didn't really know him, and I didn't really know all those stories until I heard him on Brian Malonis' podcast.
Right. Yes.
And I heard all those things. I'm like, wow, he really went through a lot.
And and he's worked his butt off, and it's great to see what's happening with him and Raymond Rowe right now.
Yeah.
And it's funny how they got together, right?
The Ring of Honor, they were opponents, correct?
Together in the finals
Yep.
when it was all over them. They were like, you guys should be a tag team.
Yep.
Look at them now. Probably the hottest tag team going right
Yeah.
now. Speaking of tag teams, these kids grew up in my same hometown I did, Lowell, Massachusetts. The Logan brothers.
Oh, the Logan brothers. I love the Logan brothers. They're good guys, and they're not afraid to get in there and go at it. So yeah, I enjoyed my matches with them as well.
And did you ever take on their buddy in the Hooligans, Chase Del Monte?
A handful of times. And again, yeah, great to work with. You know.
Good work.
Yes.
Let me look down this list real quick. We got Ryan Black.
Ryan Black.
Really brought him up too often on the show.
He another good guy. I mean, I'm not gonna say anything bad about anybody. I mean,
Any matches with him or anything?
yeah, we did. We had a little feud in Chaotic Wrestling for a short time. You know, those matches were pretty good.
Vince Vicalo.
He was a great worker. You know, and I think injuries took him out. Injuries took him out.
In like the Midwest, I think now.
Is he really?
Guys in don't hold me to a fact, but Ohio, Illinois, somewhere like that. He's not around here anymore.
Yeah, he was. He wanted to be in the WWE really, really bad, and I think that once that didn't happen, it kind of killed it for him a little bit. You know, and that's just the way I think of it. It might not be right, but you know.
What I want to do, we got like 4 minutes left, and I know how you like to help young guys. I'd like to talk about some of the young guys that are in the industry right now. Christian Casanova.
Christian Casanova is somebody that I believe that if I wouldn't have gotten injured, we were going to go head to head at Liberty States for sure, because he's the champ, and I was not going to be the secondary champion. So I had maybe a tag team match with him, and I didn't really get to see in the ring one-on-one how good he looks great, but I'd never experienced it. That's some of the stuff I wanted to do as right before this injury, was to try and get in there with the younger guys. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many. I'm just going to throw out a few names right off the bat, like Vern Vicalo, Dan Terry,
Yep.
Cam Zagami, Anthony Green.
Yep.
Those guys, I mean, up and young, coming kids. And then you got the guys that have actually started to make a name for themselves, like Dijak.
Yes, I got a chance to work with Dijak.
Did you really?
At a birthday party for APW. And
Nice.
yes, that was a lot of fun too. I got another guy that wasn't afraid to give it to me, and that's how I like it.
I've seen his matches at Beyond, and they always put him up against guys like Keith Lee or somebody big, and he nails it every single time.
Yeah.
And like Flip Gordon, making it a Ring of Honor right now.
Yep. I tag team match. It was actually him and Christian Casanova in like a tag team gauntlet that they had in APW. So again, I didn't get a chance to really get in there and work with him, but again, another one of the guys that I wanted to work with. And another guy is JT Dunn is another guy that I wanted to get into the ring with. And again, another guy that every time I've encountered him has been cordial, respectful with me. So I got nothing bad to say about JT Dunn.
And he had talked about a guy earlier, when he was on the set, Josh Briggs, another guy have you met Josh yet?
I met him on a handful of shows. I can't say that I really sat down and ever watched one of his matches,
Yeah.
But I'm gonna check him out on YouTube, see what's going on.
How about some people that I know think highly of you, Setherin and Vanity Briggs?
Again, Setherin, I've never worked with them,
Okay.
but great people. You know, I never got a chance to work with them. I was hoping that I would get a chance to work with them before this happened. You know.
Right. How about you talked about him earlier a little bit, Brandon Locke.
Yeah, no, Brandon. No, that's Brandon Webb.
Brandon Webb.
Brandon
Okay,
Webb.
right, okay.
That was reject.
Brandon Locke, all right.
Yeah, Brandon. So who are we talking about? Brandon Webb or Brandon Locke?
We'll go with Brandon Locke, and then we'll go with Brandon.
Oh, Brandon Locke is a tremendous worker. You know.
He's actually doing the bodybuilding now, too. Have you seen that? But,
Yeah.
like, he lost a lot of weight. He's totally
Yeah.
into that.
But a super nice guy, very smart, knows his way around the ring. You know, there's nothing I could do that's gonna throw him off. You know, so he's a pro. He's good.
Webb.
Brandon Webb, very similar gimmicks.
Right.
You know, so that was a lot of fun to work with him because we were both like the same type of character. So that was a lot of fun with him. And then again, another respectful guy. And you know, if physical, that's the way I like it. You know.
Right. How about Max Bauer?
Max Bauer, I think I might have worked him in a couple of tag team matches, but again, never one-on-one, but another class act, you know.
How about now, seeing that you're the head trainer at War School? How about Brian Fury?
I've never had a bad match with him, and I've worked him a few times, and I couldn't have a bad, again, another guy, I can't have a bad match with him even if I tried. You know?
Come across as students, I'm sure you know that they're very respectful.
Yes.
All of them, yeah. You had a match with this guy quite a few years, Just Incredible.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That was for Defiant Pro Wrestling, and we brought out, he was gonna gig himself, and he says, well, whatever you do, don't hit me when I'm doing that. Right. So he threw him outside the ring in the chair, and he's about to do it, and I just, out of just pure reaction, wham! Luckily, nothing bad happened to him, but a guy who was more advanced than me, and I was able to learn a lot from him. It's a lot of fun working with him. A lot of fun.
Last name, so we got like 10 seconds left. Ron Zombie.
Ron Zombie, great guy. My first memories of wrestling are always he's going to be part of it. And good worker too.
Guys, goes by way too fast. Thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Had a great time.
I want to thank Big Woody. He didn't have to step away, but he did. And that was a testament to your friendship with him. Guys, that's it. We're out. I'll be back next week. He doesn't know it yet because I have him written down for the 4th, but the 4th is Memorial Day. Right? No, Labor Day. Labor Day. Rickhouse Baker's my next guest. Peace.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.